The Outfit.
The Outfit?
It's a network of every big-time crew from Santa Monica to Coney Island.
I'm joined here today by Sophie O'Neill, costume designer of The Outfit movie that was done this time last year. It was an amazing time for us and the workshop downstairs and everyone else.
It felt like such an incredible opportunity that we were able to work so closely with Huntsman on this particular project, because the suits are so integral. I mean, they are the story, really.
A Savile Row suit is really meant to, it's built to last, and this is so true for Mark's outfit suit. You can see that it's the old adage of the shoemaker's son always goes barefoot. He's made this suit really well.
Yes, it's like an interesting thing to think about quality and the sort of precision and detail that goes into that craft, really.
I have Mark Rylance coming past day to day, making cups of tea for the tailors, and he was with us for a week to learn how to be a tailor, hold a pair of shears, thread a needle. Every facet of bespoke clothes making he got involved with and asked all the right questions. It was a wonderful experience, and then to see him wear those clothes that he helped put together and cut on set and become this character was something else. It really was an amazing time.
And I think in terms of detailing, you know, this was obviously so collaborative, and we had so many discussions about this suit because it's the suit that we see Leonard wearing for the majority of the film, and we have to say a lot with just this one suit.
It took you a long time to find that cloth, right? It was quite a process.
Yeah, I think as you're saying, we kind of started off by looking at lots of references of kind of Savile Row tailors of the period, and it is quite uniformed in a sense. You know, it was a three-piece suit. We chose to have a 3-button. It needed to feel very English because he's an English tailor setting up his shop in Chicago, and it also needed to have that weight that you'd associate with the late 40s, early 50s suit, and that fabric was incredibly hard to find.
There's such a lot of detail in that cloth. When you look at it closely, it reads quite dark, almost black, but then you look closely, the weave and the stripe, it's so subtle, so effective.
Quite unusual. But there was also a very interesting dialogue with Mark Rylance, who brought so much into this process and into the design process. He wanted this suit to feel like it was a real representation of his craftsmanship. And I kind of held that with me, and I think we talked about it as well, and we said that, you know, in keeping with the fact that this is how he interacts with his customers. So this suit is really a representation of who he is, and as we learn a little bit more about who those customers are as the story progresses, you start to sort of feel the power dynamics and the kind of the backstory, I suppose, to these suits and how integral they are to our story.
Richie, Dylan O'Brien's character, he's the son of Roy, the mafia boss.
Richie is kind of the polar opposite to Leonard, really, in that he is flashy, he's brash, he's not conservative, and he's not refined, really, but maybe he sees himself as being quite refined. He certainly likes the finer things, and I think we had that in mind when we were selecting fabrics. We wanted things that had a bit more of a sheen. We wanted him to have a luster, exactly, and also to feel a little bit like he's moving towards the 60s, like he wants to be ahead of the game, basically. I kept coming back to these references of Marlon Brando, and I quite liked this idea that he has, you know, Richie has a bit of an elevated idea of himself, and maybe he looks to kind of popular culture. You know, Marlon Brando had these great, I love this reference of him in this kind of quite low buttoning peak lapel, but with a round collar, which feels slightly wrong in a way, but for Richie felt really right. We had quite a lot of fun with his character, and I think Dylan O'Brien brought so much into those fittings because he wore it so well. So it really felt like a good collaboration. Dylan O'Brien, I think we just had 1 week with him, and we were really lucky because we were able to measure him at Huntsman in New York, so you could at least start cutting a pattern and getting something ready for when he arrived.
And at the end, when you said to me, yeah, once it's finished, get it delivered and we're going to age it, and I was like, what? We're going to make it look old, so.
Yeah, my textile artist, Sheila White, who is fantastic, and she sort of paints the costumes really, but also ages them very subtly, because we wanted this to feel, as you said, this is a suit that he would have possibly made in the late 40s or you know, had at least since the early 50s. And so it needed to feel like a well-loved suit while still maintaining all of the character and structure that a Savile Row made suit would. And that's quite hard to achieve, and it takes quite a lot of consideration, I suppose, but Sheila did an excellent job in doing that for us.
It's incredible. First day of filming, it was like he'd been wearing it for 20 years, which,
and
you know...
dipping his shirts and sort of aging the shirts to make them feel, you know, it's also how things read on camera. It tends to clean things up. So you have to almost go a tiny step further than you think you need to go, which can be a little bit scary.